Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. If you're looking for jewelry that makes an impact on your self-care routine and your style, Empowerography would love to offer you a discount code to one of our exclusive partners, Quartz and Canary Jewelry and Wellness Company. Please use code EMPOWER15 to receive 15% off upon checkout at www.quartzandcanary.com. Quartz and Canary is truly the place where spirituality meets style. Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest is Sarah Renee. She is a medium, a mentor, and an author based in California. How are you doing today, Sarah?
Hey, Brad, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here and share a bit about your story and your journey here with me and the Empowerography community. It is an honor and a pleasure to have you here. I know we've been trying to connect and get this together for a little bit, so it's nice to finally have you here.
Yes, thanks so much for inviting me to be on. I love your show and what you're doing and, empowering women. So I'm glad that we finally got it worked out.
Yes, exactly. So, Sarah, let's jump right in. So, as I mentioned, you are a world-renowned spiritual medium. You are a best-selling author. You are the founder and CEO of Sarah Renee Incorporated, an ordained minister, and a mentor. That is one hell of a resume.
A lot of things.
That's right. That's a mouthful. Can you tell us, for those that don't know, what a spiritual medium does?
Yeah. So essentially a medium, right, is someone who has the ability to connect with the other side, being mainly the afterlife. So most mediums, like you see on TV, we specialize in bringing through people who have passed away and are now in the afterlife. We can also bring through different guides or angels or kind of higher realm, beings as well.
Okay. So what are the differences then between a psychic medium and a spiritual medium?
They are essentially the same thing.
Oh, okay.
And then within that, kind of underneath those, you have mental medium, evidential medium, physical medium, which really just breaks down how we all receive our messages. But,
okay.
Medium as a whole means you bring through messages from people who have passed away.
Okay.
And so, or from souls who've passed away or
right.
Or new souls, that haven't been born yet. That's something.
Oh, wow. Really?
A lot
new
as well.
cells.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, that's really fun. It's kind of nice to be on that, new life and death.
Yeah.
Circular.
And you're able to do that, or can people with these, whether it be psychic or why do people then, if they're essentially the same thing, why I'm curious as to why people use different terms then if it's essentially the same thing.
Well, I think it's all really preference. I find that medium has a lot of, more stereotypes around it. And I think that's why a lot of us break out of that. But it's, and then also for clarification, all mediums are psychic.
Okay.
Not all psychics are mediums. So psychic is basically somebody who can read maybe your energy, like an empath, or who can touch an object and read the object's energy, or who can look at a situation and, perhaps see the future or see the energy of that person, but they don't connect with a higher source. They're not.
Right. See, to me, when I hear the term psychic, I think immediately someone who can see the future. That's the first thing that comes to mind for me.
Yeah. And that's what most people say. So I know when I shifted from calling myself a psychic medium to a spiritual medium, my work didn't change. Nothing did change, but it was more to clarify, hey, I specialize in bringing people's loved ones through.
Right. Okay.
And I enjoy that. Personally, I just enjoy that more.
Right.
I mean, I definitely give my clients psychic advice, on relationships and career and life path and all of that. The way that I work is, a lot of times my guides, I'm channeling the whole time anyway, my guides, or angels, they're the ones giving the guidance
Okay.
versus me just reading the future, so to
Right.
speak.
Well, thank you for clarifying that, because I've always wondered that. So thank
It's a
you.
good question, because there's
This
like
is
a
an
lot of
yeah, this is an educational chat as well. I love
Mhm.
it. Sarah, how old were you when you discovered you had the gift of being a spiritual medium?
Gosh, when I was little, I definitely had abilities. I don't think I realized that I had abilities, but I would see my early years, we lived in a place that, now looking back, I would say probably had some, dark spirits around, because I couldn't sleep alone. I would constantly see things in my room and have like night terrors, like to the point of feeling like something was killing me. And
Wow.
yeah, it was really traumatic,
That's intense.
for me as a kid. And then and I just didn't understand how come my parents couldn't see the things that I thought were trying to kill me. And then when I was 5, my grandmother, my mom's mom, who had lived with us for a little bit, she passed away from cancer. And
Okay.
my mom received the call in the middle of the night. And, my poor mom, like, they were so close. So she was just, in
Destroyed.
her trauma.
Yeah.
I mean, like, obviously. And little 5-year-old me was like, at 3:00 in the morning, like, you have to take me to go see her, because she's not going to leave until I go talk to her. So finally I convinced her to take me to the hospital. And she's like, I'm going to traumatize my kid now. Like,
Yeah.
she's like, I'm going to take her in the middle of the night to see her grandmother's dead body. Like, what am I doing? But I would not. I was relentless. And I remember sitting on the end of the hospital bed and having a conversation with my grandmother.
Wow.
And I remember her telling me, like, I wouldn't see her, but that she would still be there, and she was okay. And she had been in a wheelchair, and I saw her walk off. And so I knew. And so as soon as I said goodbye, like, I knew it was going to be fine and everything was fine. And I just got up off the bed and I was like, we can go now. Grandma's fine.
Was this a conversation out loud though, or just in your head?
That was in my head.
Okay.
And then I told my mom, that it was okay and grandma was fine, and and we could go. But like, her and the nurses, like, from their perspective, I was just sitting on the bed, kind of looking and maybe like whispering slightly,
Right.
to my grandmother's body.
Yeah.
So that was probably the first, clue that I really had, some abilities.
Amazing. Now, I've spoken with a number of people who have these gifts or similar gifts, and a couple of things that I have found that are common threads among the people are, first, there's usually someone else in the family or that has similar or the same gifts. And secondly, they are usually discovered at a very young age. So does anyone else in your family have similar or the same gifts as you?
Yeah, good question. Nobody does mediumship, or sees people who've passed. My dad always jokes that he has like an ESP type sense. Like he knows when somebody's going to call him, like he gets feelings and that sort of thing. And my mom, she really, she's pretty amazing at animal communication.
Okay.
We always had dogs, and she was always just very in tune with what they needed. And she, was highly intuitive, knew everything that I was doing all the time.
Right.
And
so you had to be a good girl to get in trouble, Sarah.
Yeah, I was a troublemaker, and that didn't go so well. But yeah, now she's kind of developed her abilities over the years too, which has been pretty cool. To be a part of. And so now she can do like clearings of a house, and she can, like I said, she's like so highly intuitive. She doesn't do mediumship, but she's definitely gifted.
Yeah. Now, a big part of the reason why I asked that last question is because I'm very curious if you had anyone to speak to really that you could relate to, or that could relate to you in terms of the things you were experiencing and going through. I mean, how did you bring this stuff up to discuss, if you did discuss at all, with your parents or your friends? I mean, did you have anyone to talk to about the things you were going through and experiencing?
Yeah. I really did not. Like I said, when I was a kid, I was so afraid, and my parents, because it wasn't talked about then either. So I think they tried all sorts of things to get me to sleep in my room alone. Like they thought it was more of a behavioral issue and a wild imagination, than anything else. And so when we moved, we moved homes when I was in second grade, and I was able to sleep just fine, finally. But it was really all of that time I could not sleep by myself at all.
Wow.
But yeah, as soon as we moved, I was great.
So was that house?
Mm-hmm. Huh. Yeah, so it's like whatever it was stayed in that house, and then I was totally fine. And, and like little things, like we'd go to Sedona because I grew up in Arizona, and we'd go there all the time, and I'd like sit in the vortexes and be like, I have to talk to God now, and I have to like talk to the coyotes now, and like... So I think they just thought I was extra in tune. They always encouraged it. They never told me that it wasn't real, which I appreciate. For sure. But I don't know that they fully understood. Right.
Now, I can only imagine that must have been one hell of an internal struggle for you to come to grips with and understand at a young age and realize the gifts you had, especially with not really having anyone to relate to or talk to fully and openly about it.
Yeah, it was definitely, I got really deep into drugs and alcohol. Starting at age 12, just attempting to be normal. And, I always, my like self-esteem issues, I think it would be easy to classify them as normal. And I definitely had the normal things, that all teenagers, go through. But I think the root of it for me was really that I felt so weird and so different, and I didn't, and then I would hide because I would know things about my friends that I shouldn't know. And some of the things where everybody could kind of joke around with, like nobody, if I had a bad feeling, like everybody stayed home. Like, everybody knew that I was always right about certain things. Right. So, they really listened to me on a lot of that stuff. But some things were just really strange. And I learned that people get kind of uncomfortable when you talk about things that you shouldn't know about. And so I'd like see somebody and I'd see like flashes of their trauma. And I kind of had extreme empathy where I'd take on their stuff and not really know what was mine and what was theirs. Yeah. And, and I would know what was happening, like, to a friend, like if they were like in a fight or being hurt or had a drug overdose, like I would feel it in my body. Wow. Like, even though I had no idea mentally, what was happening.
Did you find yourself trying to suppress your gifts a lot?
Yeah, I think it was funny. I was just talking to my mom about this yesterday. I had like two friends in middle school, and we were kind of like all into kind of the spiritual stuff, and like we would do meditations and kind of play around with it, and then we ended up in entirely different classes and with different, like I got separated from them going into high school. And so I got all new friends. And I felt like after that, I really started to try to shut it down, because I was like, this just isn't, like, they're going to think I'm a witch. Like everybody's going to make fun of me. Like, and so I really tried to, smoke as much pot as possible, drink as much alcohol as possible to try to dull it.
So when did you really embrace your gift then and start to use it to help people?
So it kind of came in doses for me, or levels. Like when I was 18, I was trying to quit drinking and gotten off drugs, and I went to a woman who is a medium and astrologer. And I just went to her for normal, like my clients come to me. I just wanted her to tell me what my life purpose was and to help me get on track. Like, just fix me. And she, looked at my chart and whatever the guides told her, I don't even really know, but she was like, do you know that you're a medium and you have these abilities? And that was the first time somebody explained like who I was to me, where I felt so validated, and it just all came together. And I was
I'm
like,
not
wow,
a
like I'm
weirdo.
not, yeah, like I'm not just weird. I don't have like a mental illness. Like this is
Yeah.
like a gift, you
Yeah.
know, too. And it was funny at that time, that show with Patricia Arquette, The Medium, was on
Yes.
TV, and she would solve murders. And
Yeah.
I think getting out of the kind of druggy, you know, kind of bad kid life, I was like, oh, I'm going to go the total opposite way now. And I want to help law enforcement like solve murders. And there was a homicide that had taken place like in our kind of area. And I was like, you know, I'm going to figure this out. And I just dove in without any kind of protection, without any kind of training. Like I was just like, oh, I'm a medium, I can do this. And it did not go well. It was very traumatizing. Like within a year, I would say of that reading and finding out I was a medium and embracing it, I shut it down again. And, you know, I was like, nope, not doing this. And it wasn't until, gosh, I was 24, 25, when we moved out to San Diego, and I did yoga teacher training. And along that path, I'd still been meeting with this medium, you know, astrologer for life guidance, and, you know, kind of learning just better how to manage it so that I didn't feel so drained, you know, just leaving the house. And so between her mentorship, you know, and spiritual work and trauma work, and then yoga teacher training, and then I got sober and went through AA, and it was kind of like all of that gave me these foundations where I could embrace my gift with, you know, with boundaries and feel really safe with it.
Do you believe that everyone has the ability within them to communicate with the other side and be a spiritual medium? And it's just a matter of whether the individual's able to actually tap into or discover their abilities?
I personally do not.
Okay.
I know some people do. What I do believe is that we all have intuition, and that we all are, I believe that everyone can feel the other side and can experience the other side. I don't believe that everybody can do clear readings or factually bring other people through. And, you know, it's not so much of like, oh, I'm so special, you know, and not everybody is. It's more of, I don't feel that everybody has that purpose. So I feel like, you know, when I work with people on developing their intuitive gifts, it's more focused on, well, what is your soul's like life path, and what do your gifts look like? You know, like I work with people in law enforcement who I would say have some mediumship abilities, but would not call themselves medium, even though they'll tell me that, you know, they saw the soul of a body, you know, whose homicide they were investigating point to a piece of evidence that ended up solving the case, you know. So I think that, but like they could not sit down and like bring through my grandmother, right? So everybody can connect, and everybody has like their, you know, their team with them, and everybody can get signs, you know, from like their grandparent or their parent or sister or loved one who transitioned. But I don't feel like just anybody can develop clear mediumship, like to do reading, you know, because I don't feel like if it's not like part of your purpose, then you're not going to like be pushed in that direction.
Right. So when you sit down with a client, can you tell that whether or not they do have that gift, whether they can communicate with the other side?
Usually, people's guides or their loved one will kind of give me some insight about what their gifts are, or how they're supposed to use them.
Right.
You know, and so, yes, I mean, I don't go around like, oh, you're a medium, you're not a medium.
No,
like,
of course.
Yeah, I definitely will sense like, okay, so you're like, one of my clients came to me for anxiety, and she was like, I want to learn like meditation or, some spiritual tools to help my anxiety because nothing's working. I've tried everything. And what I saw was that she's being bombarded by spirit everywhere she goes. Okay. And so imagine if you're standing in the line at the grocery store and you have 100 people talking to you all at once.
Yeah.
You're going to feel a little anxious.
Yes.
And it's the same thing, except you can't see them,
Right.
maybe. So
Right.
like she couldn't see, but she could feel that energy. And so we worked together. And in her case, she thought it was kind of cool. She didn't want to like become a medium. So we worked together and developed her gifts to a point where she could have parameters and boundaries and understanding. And she could, tell a spirit to leave her alone,
Right.
or deliver a message, here and there, and basically just find a way to embrace it and manage it, without maybe devoting her whole life to
Right.
it.
So let's just say, for the sake of I came to you and I said, Sarah, I would love a reading. Can we sit down? I want to contact so-and-so. And if I came out and asked Sarah, do you think, or can you see that I have these abilities? Could you say, Brad, no, you don't. Sorry, but you don't. Or Brad, yes, you actually do. We just need to fine tune them and hone in on those gifts.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, cause I would ask your team, like, okay, what gifts does Brad have,
Right.
or what is happening? And then they would essentially tell me, oh, he can develop these mediumship gifts, this way, or, oh, he's a really great, empath and has like accurate empath gifts and can develop this, so they would kind of give, like I have a lot of people with paranoid schizophrenia who come to me hoping that I'll tell them they're a medium, where instead the work will focus on how do we get them the proper therapist and like a proper treatment program where they're incorporating spirituality, but they're also getting help for the condition as well.
Okay. Can you walk us through your approach when you decide to start mentoring or teaching or working with a client on how to hone in and realize and start to craft those gifts and skills?
Yeah. So my first, beginner is, starting a consistent meditation practice and bringing in some really conscious connection with a person's, what I refer to it as a spirit team, because to me, I see it as a combination of, loved ones on the afterlife, guides, angels. So I call it a team to loop it all into one name. And so, let's say you come to me and I'm like, oh, Brad, okay, you have this, person over there, and you have Archangel Michael and, maybe like Buddha, let's say, so, and then you would say like, if something resonated for you or not. Right. And then what we would do is we would develop some personalized practices for you to start connecting with, if you were like, okay, I really connect with Archangel Michael the most out of those. Be like, great, let's do some meditations. Like, and I would teach you practices to connect with him.
Okay.
So that you have some being, whether it's, a grandparent or an angel or whoever, but somebody that's helping protect you.
Right.
And then practicing keeping track of what you're feeling, what you're getting, whether it's dreams or a dead person is talking to you or a feeling. All of them I approach the same way, with like keeping track of it to track your accuracy, not in the sense of like, oh, I'm either really good at it or really not, like with judgment, but more of like to determine what gifts of yours are the strongest. How do they communicate with you, so that like, okay, let's hone in on this first.
Okay, that makes sense.
And to really develop your gifts and how they work through you, rather than trying to learn mine.
Right. Okay. Makes sense.
That's really how, because everybody has their way.
Right.
That's unique for them.
Okay. Now, you've channeled for some celebrities and pretty big names. Can you tell us who some of those celebrities have been and what the experiences were like for you working with them, and how did that come to be, working with celebrities and big names?
Yeah. So, well, I am based in California. Yeah. So I'm about 3 hours, depending on traffic, south of LA. And so I'm up in Malibu a lot. So that's kind of been one intro, into some celebrity clients. And then a lot of them, honestly, through social media, and the ones that I'm allowed to name,
yes,
because I obviously honor anonymity, but like Dr. Wayne Dyer, who he's a celebrity to me, because in kind of the spiritual development, self-help world.
Yeah, for sure.
So his whole family we joke, like, I think I've read all of them except maybe one or two. They all come to me and they all share about me and, all of that. So,
Yeah.
And Serena Dyer, his daughter, she actually wrote the foreword for my book, The Blessings Book, because I sent it to her, just for feedback. And she was like, oh my gosh, I love this. Can I write, your foreword for you? Which was so
very cool.
Amazing. And we connected on Facebook, right after he transitioned. And it was kind of funny because, and I find this translates for a lot of celebrities when somebody is so well known, and I was really excited when she first came to me because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get to bring through Dr. Wayne Dyer, who's just a hero to me. And I think I brought through her grandmother or somebody first. And then he came through last. And what I figured out with that pattern was with people who are so well known, usually a loved one who the public doesn't know about will come through first.
Right.
To help the person be able to trust the reading. And she shares, tons of mediums reached out to her. She was like hundreds claiming to have messages from her dad that were just things that they could have read about, she was like, okay, well, that's a nice thought, but it's all public knowledge.
Yeah.
And so that was able to kind of validate for her. And then when he came through, he was able to talk about things, that nobody knows about, which was really special. And
validating what you do.
Yeah. Validating what I do, validating that he was actually there for her so that she could actually, receive those messages and take them in, and her whole family has become amazing regulars and they talk about me in their new book and, that's been amazing. And then they actually referred me to a family friend, Jules Weinstein, who was on the Real Housewives of New York.
Oh, okay.
And she started off with readings to connect with a friend who had passed. And then when her father was on hospice, she actually had me do a reading for him because he was, I wouldn't say afraid to die, but he felt like he wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And that was really, really one of the most special experiences of my career. I would say, reading for somebody who's that close to transitioning and seeing all of his loved ones around him and being able to give him some peace for that moment and her some peace. And after that, now she does my mentorship, program, but not so much about developing, spiritual gifts, as much as spiritual tools, for just improving her life, as a whole. And so, she's a regular and she's referred me, to a bunch of people, and that's been really fun, as well. And then I have some screenwriters and actors and, who will ask about auditions, and that, that sort of thing. So that's really,
yeah, that makes sense. 100%.
It's interesting, because I tell people it doesn't matter how famous you are, we all lose people and go through things.
Yes,
and
for sure.
Have the same grief. It's really interesting how I've really kind of come to know how we all think that, somebody who is, maybe a billionaire is so much different than somebody who maybe just got out of jail or a single mom working 3 jobs and then a law enforcement officer, and we think that we're all so separate. And how I see them through my work is we all have the same losses. We all have different struggles, but where we get those, I guess a level of grief or a level of doubt or wondering, is there something helping me? Is there some, or am I just alone in this human world,
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're human beings just like everyone else. They deal with the same. It's just they deal with things on a different level because they're of a different. I don't even know what the word would be to use, and I don't want to say the word class because that's not the right word. But they're just at a different level in their lives. But it doesn't mean they're not human, just like we are. But that speaks to the whole pop culture and celebrities being put on pedestals, and which I think is ridiculous, to be honest. I don't understand that. And the infatuation with celebrity and I think it's just too far gone. I think it's crazy.
Yeah, and like most of that, at least my clients, like they don't want the pedestal, like they're more artist
Yeah.
types. I think there's definitely some that like the pedestal, but
Oh, yes.
the more spiritual ones who are drawn to me tend to be more artist like,
Right.
and have the same insecurities and fears that we all have.
Yeah. As mentioned previously, and I know you just mentioned it in the previous question, but you're also a best-selling author. Can you tell us a bit about the book you've written and where people can find or purchase it?
Yes, so I wrote the Blessings book, and then there's also a Blessings workbook that can kind of be paired with it. And the Blessings book was really like a channeled. It was through my journaling and meditations and channeled writing these different prayers, meditations, mantras, and visualization, just kind of different exercises for like essentially daily things that anyone could be going through. So there's like a chapter on, healing trauma. There's a chapter on addiction. There's chapters on career or dealing with like a difficult boss or difficult person, or romantic relationships. And then, so Spirit would essentially have me tune into like an energy of a struggle, let's say, or a goal even. And then they'd send through different affirmations, like I said, like mantras, prayers, and they're all worded, I use like the words universe, angels, God, all interchangeably so that they can all be modified for a person's faith,
right?
Whatever they believe in. And it's kind of designed where you can even also just open it up to a random page and, with the intention that it be what you need for the day. And a lot of my clients use it that way. Cool. And then the workbook goes with it is just, it's actually different practices that I taught and workshops that I found to be the most impactful for people. So I pulled the most impactful exercises from all of my it was like different like classes and courses over the like probably 5 years and compiled them in this book, and then in an order that kind of goes through and like cleanses you and then restores you and then connects you. And then the back half is a gratitude journal.
Okay.
That's customizable. And so you can find the link to both of those on my website. They're on Amazon. But even on my website, there's a page where you can click the link and it'll take you to Amazon.
Perfect. Well, we'll put the information in the show notes for your episode when we publish it. So
perfect.
So you're also an ordained minister. What inspired you to become an ordained minister?
That was actually from another medium recommended that, that I do that for. I'm like trying to think of the conversation. We were chatting about me doing mediumship in a way that was very like kind of God. And I mean God more as like a presence or consciousness, right? Than a religious God based, and how getting ordained, really helps, incorporate that, within it as well, and kind of keep it, really aligned with a higher consciousness. And, and then from there, it's been fun to get to do, I've had clients have me do baptisms, for their kids and blessings. And so, I use it I do a lot of house blessings or blessings for office spaces and that sort of thing. And so I find it helps do that. And, and then I think too, like legally there's on a totally logistical note, there's, some reasons for that as well. So it just lines up kind of on all. I'm like, it's very practical and logical. And then, but on the flip side of that, it really, I haven't done a wedding yet. I could, which I think would be really cool. But the baptism thing surprised me. And that was something that my clients were asking for. And that's been really fun. So
what excites or inspires or lights you up the most about the work you do, Sarah?
I would say the thing that really lights me up the most is like seeing the change in people, even over the phone, like their energy of when they arrive for a session and, maybe they're overthinking things, or, like the heaviness can be there for all different reasons. Like maybe they're in pain, maybe it's grief, maybe they're just, like overthinking and stressed out about life, like we all get sometimes. And then seeing them and feeling their energy at the end of a session just feels so much lighter and clearer. And like, if I can see them, if we're on Zoom or something and I can see their face, like seeing the visible change in their appearance, like it's fun. Like I'll literally see somebody brighter and their smile bigger, and like you can just really see the change and feel it. And then seeing that and receiving the emails and the messages that my clients send me of like how that transformed their life, like that's what lights me up. Like seeing the power that a spiritual connection can literally transform somebody's life in unexplainable ways. That's what really keeps me, like, it keeps me so fascinated. It keeps me from getting bored, because there's always a new way that it can impact people. And it just blows my mind. It never gets boring.
That's got to feel incredible when you get those messages from people saying, you changed my life, or you did this for me, or I can't even imagine.
Yeah, or like even, I have atheists that come to me who lose somebody really close to them, and they're atheists, and and they're like, it's such a struggle, because they're like, I don't believe in God, like I don't believe in heaven, but I just can't believe that this person is gone either, right. and to help them reconcile that through like talking about energy and the energy of a soul, and to have them reach out to me, like I get signs, from my dad, or I get signs from this person, and to see where they can have a spiritual connection without having to completely change their belief system. It's just like, it's so amazing to me.
I can only imagine. To date, what would you say is your biggest high or your greatest win?
I think my biggest win, I probably have two of them, because I'm like the Dyer family, getting to meet them. I mean, Dr. Wayne Dyer, like his book saved my life when I was at my lowest point. So getting to bring him through is definitely probably the high of, it's like a selfish high. Like,
okay. There's nothing wrong with that though.
It's a personal high of my career for sure. And then, another high would be, or a big win, kind of a big fulfilling piece was I was hired by somebody to bring through their son who was murdered, and the people who killed him had gotten away. And he was able to, he took me through his murder, what happened, and all of that. And it brought his family, deep healing, to know that he was okay. And to kind of know the backstory. But what he was also able to do was, one of his family members in his session asked if he could show us anything that would give a clue about where the person who shot him was. And he showed me, he took me into this town. And so I was describing the town, and like, they're writing it all down, as I'm talking, because I don't even know, I can't like write and look at the same time. And it's funny because the show's like, for translation, like I thought what this person was showing me was like Long Beach, like that's like what it reminded me of. But it ended up being, when his family shared this with it was being investigated by a federal team, law enforcement team, somebody recognized the description of the town as being a town that was out of the country, and they actually were able to go out of the country into this town, go like undercover. It took like 6 months to a year, I believe, but they were able to get the person and bring them back here, and he's serving life in prison.
Wow.
That was like one of the most fulfilling, moments by far.
No doubt. That's amazing to have had a hand in helping capture this guy's killer.
Yeah, it's like just even, just that little bit. And that's what I tell other mediums too, like, because again, like I would have said, oh, it's Long Beach, and it's not, like we don't ever because it wasn't for me to know, like he knew he could describe something that the law enforcement agent would connect the dots of.
Right.
And so it's trusting that if it gets to the right person, they'll translate it in a way that makes sense.
Right. Sarah, what do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
Honestly, well, I mean, of course, being a medium would be a superpower for me, but, I would say along with that curiosity, a lot of my clients, Serena Dyer always talks about, she's like, how I'm like so non-judgmental. And she's always like, I just don't you're like, you're so non-judgmental. Like, it's just amazing. And it's not, I joke that it's not even so much that, it's that I'm so curious about people, and I'm so curious in my work about what spirit will say for certain situations, questions, that I'm never bored and I'm never judgmental, because the curiosity overrides the egoic judgment that I might have if I didn't have that. And I think curiosity has led me to, connect with all kinds of people in my life and, try all kinds of things and, be open to doing readings and be open to writing books. And, it really helps me put myself out there and not get too discouraged.
Very cool. Speaking of success, how do you define that word? What does the word success mean to you?
Oh, that's a good question. We can define success, for ourselves. And I think that's really important to do. For me, there was always a logistical piece of financially being able to, support myself consistently and have a level of financial freedom that, allows me to live comfortably. Like I was never, I don't need to be a billionaire, but to like have my own business and be financially independent, that was a big piece of success, for me. And, and with that, to be fulfilled, to know that I'm making a difference, like to not, that was really like, I'm very impatient. And so I was like, my prayers would be like, I need a career where I will see the results of what I'm doing, because otherwise I will not stick to it. Like I just know myself. So that's really, to have tangible fulfillment, to know I'm making a difference, even to one person, it doesn't, I don't even have a parameter. I would like to change the world, but every day it's like they keep me grounded. My guides, like if I could help one person that day, that's enough. And so
changing the world one person at a time.
Exactly. So that's my definition of success.
Very cool. I like that definition. What would you say is one of the most important things you've learned in your life? And what was your life like before learning it? And what was your life like after learning it?
I feel like it probably is in my recovery, actually, from addiction, doing the "Thy will be done" prayer every morning, and learning the lesson of when my ego is running the show, it will not go well. and the lesson that like really letting the divine run the show, like things can happen that are beyond what I could ever conceive possible. And so that's definitely having to go through, and it was not an overnight thing. It was an everyday for years process of learning to surrender and learning to trust divine will, to lead my life. Like that has definitely been the most life-changing lesson, for me by far.
Yeah. What would you say is one of the best pieces of advice you've ever received?
So one of my mentors, like I love having mentors, and I love, seeking wisdom. I think it's important to always, be open to learning. So I've definitely received so many helpful tips over the years, but I would say for me, I'm a person who, I'm highly sensitive and highly in tune, obviously. So I love helping people. And before my career, really took off, I would help people in my personal life, maybe not in the most healthy of ways. And my mentor told me, you can pick somebody up out of their stuff.
Yeah.
But when you them back down, which eventually you will have to do, their stuff is still going to be there because it's theirs and they have to learn to work through it themselves. And that really helped me be able to create healthy boundaries in my relationships without feeling so guilty. And knowing that people have their own stuff.
Yeah. And that you can't fix everybody.
Yep. Yeah. Like that
you can't fix anybody. You can't solve their problems for them.
No, because it's even my client, they have to implement whatever spirit says at the end of the day. So it's we all have to do it for ourselves.
The self-work, they have to do the work. You can give them the tools, but you can't do the work for them.
Exactly. Like you can tell somebody to meditate, but you can't go make them meditate every day.
Or you can't make them meditate. If they don't want to meditate, they don't want to meditate.
Exactly.
What makes you feel inspired or like your best self?
I would say, nature and like seeing different, going on a road trip or, to different landscapes and, that and like, so maybe even I would say travel, but, more nature-based travel because I really like just looking at the ocean, inspires me. And when I feel in sync with the earth and with nature, I tend to show up as my best self.
What is the one common myth that you would like to debunk about your profession? Probably a bunch, but what is one really big one that you'd like to debunk?
The biggest one is probably the fortune teller myth, of where people picture psychics or mediums and they kind of picture us all being this, person with like gallons of makeup on and with like
sitting with a crystal ball.
With crystal balls and the tarot cards, and not that I'm knocking tarot, but but they're usually in this picture that people get. And basically conning people, saying that you're cursed and you have to pay me thousands of dollars to remove the curse. That is not true.
None of that is 100% false.
Yes, like they exist, but they are con artists, not real psychic or mediums. And so that's definitely the big one.
Oh, yes. The media has helped fuel that one, I would say.
Oh, yes, 100%. If you look at shows and movies and how we've been portrayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does the word empowerment mean to you?
Empowerment to me is really the courage to keep showing up, and to show up truthfully, and the permission to be yourself and just, feeling like an inner empowerment to really show up fully, even when it seems like you're losing or, everything's against you. Like, just, that's, so I would say, that inner courage, that inner fire.
We're going to jump into a little rapid fire section here. So the next grouping of questions just be 1, 2, 3 word answer type things. Okay.
Okay.
How would you describe yourself in one word, Sarah?
Grounded.
Money or fame?
Money.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
If you were writing your autobiography, what would the title be?
Messenger for the Divine.
I love it. What's the first thing you notice about a person?
Their energy.
If you could teach the world one thing, what would that be?
That we all come from the same place and we all end up at the same place.
Yes. Such an important lesson for people to learn.
Yes.
It truly is. It's that. I think that would change a lot of things around the world if we could all wrap our heads around that.
Yep, I agree.
What's one thing you want but cannot buy with money?
I guess my true desire is for everyone to know that their loved ones are with them. Like, I really wish that people, you say I want, and it's not really for myself, but it kind of is, because I would want people to know what I know.
Yeah. Okay. If you could change one thing about the world, what would you change?
I would make people more compassionate around the world. And I would give people, like, if I could just snap my fingers, I would give everyone empathy, and the ability to empathize with everyone else.
Okay. Entrepreneur life is?
a roller coaster.
Yes, that's a good description of it for sure. My favorite way to unwind is
Going hiking.
what is one of your favorite entrepreneurial books?
Gosh, Brennan Burchard's The Motivation Manifesto.
Okay. I'll have to check that one out. I've never heard of that one, so I will definitely check that out. And that concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. If you could sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with anyone in the world, alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Honestly, I feel like it would be so fun to talk to Anthony Bourdain. I know, all right. He's not, some people might have different answers, but to me, I loved his curiosity and I always say, I'm like, I wish I could bring him through for somebody.
Yeah. What is your personal motto?
My personal motto is, back to that, thy will be done, or divine will, let me be a vessel of divine will or live in alignment with divine will and just help make the world a better place, really.
I love it. Who in your life has had the biggest impact on you and why?
I would say my mom. And, because she always has stayed true to herself. She didn't have the fear that I had as a kid of being different. She never cared if she was different. And she's so strong and, and she's continued her inner work through her whole entire life. She's never stopped, learning or trying new things.
Okay. What would you say is one of your biggest failures, or let's call it life lessons or teachable moments? And what did you learn from it?
I would say probably my biggest, life lesson teachable moment was my rock bottom with alcohol, because it wasn't just a rock bottom with alcohol. And, what it was I was laying on the floor of a public bathroom, so hungover from the night before. Mm-hmm. And that was my rock bottom. I didn't need to go lower into being arrested and all those. I was good. I was good there, but it was more of a soul level. In that moment, I was just so done with trying to live how I thought I should be living, mm-hmm. and with trying to force myself to be someone else.
Right.
And that was really the rock bottom of it. Was that using alcohol to become somebody else. And when I hit that wall of failing, nothing was moving forward in my life. I was failing at everything because I wasn't listening, to myself or to God or, the divine. And so that really was the most powerful, failure, teachable moment, all of those things to really show me, okay, and I heard this voice in that moment, okay, are you done now? Are you done yet?
Yeah.
And that was it. I was done.
that was your 2x4 in the back of the head. You weren't listening to the whispers. So that was your 2x4.
Yep, exactly.
Sarah, what would you say is one of your most treasured possessions and why?
Probably I have a small diamond necklace that my mom gave me on my 21st birthday, and it belonged to my grandmother. And it just makes me feel connected.
Yeah. What is one thing you've always wanted to do in life but never have?
I'm a big adventurer, so probably I really want to go to the Amazon. I would love to go zip lining or hang gliding, all those things, down but I've always wanted to feel at the top of the trees in the rainforest.
Yeah. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
I'd say to stop comparing myself to other people and to, really give myself permission to be different, that we're not all supposed to be the same.
The world would be very boring if we were all the same.
Right? Yeah.
It'd be a very, very boring world.
Yeah.
Lastly, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, what do you think that last 30 seconds would sound like?
I would tell people, you're not alone, and you have these, beings around you helping you, and they're like your eyes in the sky, and that you create a ripple effect. Everything is just so much bigger than you could ever comprehend. and from your tiniest action, like how you treat the barista when you go get your morning coffee, to your career, to your family, you have an impact on the world and you have help. And so to just, to try to tune into that, to let yourself receive help and to, really take the impact that you have, not seriously, because spirit always says to lighten up and laugh more, but, to take it, to know that you are responsible for the energy that you bring into your life and to really like give yourself some depth and some value, because you are valuable and you do matter. And I think when people know that, all of us change the world, just by existing.
Beautiful. I love it. Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today and share your story and your journey and allow me to come along for the ride. It's been incredibly educational. I've learned quite a bit. So thank you for educating me. And I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I appreciate you taking the time to be here and welcome you into the Empowerography community. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you here. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I loved it.
Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of the Empowerography podcast. Today, my guest has been Sarah Renee. She is a medium, a mentor, and an author based in California. Thank you so much, Sarah. I hope you have an amazing rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca and follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.